old are you?
I'm 36. I need to retire by 40.
You yourself are liable to do more harm than good.
Right.
What mathematically works the best based upon research is that you should be a 100% equity holder, which is why 100% equity doesn't work. For me, your principal gets mic'd up.
Do you think ChatGPT can replace traditional financial advisors?
Absolutely. 120%. Hello, everyone. I'm Ravi Handa, and welcome to another episode of Desi Fire podcast. Today, I have Puneet with me. So, Puneet is a friend of mine and someone I have been able to convince to a certain extent to be on the path to fire. But as you might understand, financial independence and early retirement is a problem for quite a few people. They are not able to think about it clearly. And today's discussion that I wanted to have with Puneet is focused on people who are on the path, who will probably be firing in the next 2 to 5 years. What is it that they can do, they should do? And Puneet had some queries about that. So I thought that it would be best to record our conversation and share with all our viewers. I hope you will like this video. And even if you don't like this video, at least like it on YouTube and help our channel grow a little bit better. So with that note, Puneet, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. Thank you for doing this. And I have a series of questions for you. Some are related to stock market, some are related to fire, and some are related to fire during, life during fire and life after fire. So let's start with the first one. So, as I'm pursuing a fire, I do have conversation with a lot of people around such things. And one thing that a lot of the time comes up is that people ask that stock market is controlled by politicians and a lot of the rich people, and the common man can hardly make money through stock market. So do you think there's some truth to it? Like, is it manipulated by people at a higher level?
Personally, I don't think that it is manipulated and it is possible to manipulate the stock market. The level of the large cap companies, because these companies are worth thousands of crores and sometimes in lakhs of crores. So there is manipulation and the pump and dump schemes. They do happen. I'm not denying that. But that typically happens with companies which are smaller in size, which have lesser number of free float shares so that someone can actually quickly acquire them, acquire a large quantity and make a difference. But if the company is of the size of HDFC Bank, it would be it's not virtually impossible to manipulate it, but it would be virtually very hard to manipulate it. And any sort of manipulation that happens in the stock market, that's typically for a very small period. Over the long term, what we need to understand is that the stock market depends upon what the companies are doing. As long as the companies keep doing well, which form your stock portfolio or a mutual funds portfolio or the index, as long as the companies keep doing well, the stock market will continue to do well. So manipulating it, that there is some politician who is manipulating it or something like that, that might happen at a very low level, but not much beyond that. So that's not really a concern that you or I should have if we are investing in, let's say, a broad market index fund or let's say a mutual fund, because those guys are taking the calls for us. Those are the guys who are deciding that X stock to pick and buy stock to pick. And if you're doing the stock picking on your own, more than market manipulation, you yourself are liable to do more harm than good.
Right. Thanks. So the second question that I'll ask you is a light one. So, after fire, everybody wants to live in a city which is well connected, but is also not very expensive, right? So when I talk about a city like that, which is the city that comes to your mind that gives you all the modern facilities and is not that expensive to live in?
See, what is expensive or what is not expensive or what is a big city or a small city is typically dependent on the individual. For someone like me, I live in Jaipur. I find Jaipur to be fairly well connected. I find the infra in Jaipur to be pretty decent. There are international flights which are available. There is extremely good quality of healthcare which is available. There is extremely good quality of schooling which is available. So it does the job for me. When I talk to my friends who are from Alwar, now Alwar is another city which is, a couple of hours away from Jaipur. For them, Jaipur seems like a big city because of the amount of traffic that it has, because of the size, because of how expensive the schools and healthcare and the things that I like here are. On the same time, when I talk to my friends in Bangalore, they, like the fact that it is cheap, but they also, rue the fact that there are only a few international flights. You can't go anywhere. You don't really have the amount of opportunities for entertainment, for even for your kids' education, the sort of schools and the opportunities that probably Bangalore would have, Jaipur wouldn't. So it becomes a comparison. I think primarily what I've seen, especially in people who have fired, they either continue to be in the city that they were in. So let's say if you have worked all your life in Pune, probably they continue to stay in Pune. Or let's say if they originally are from Bikaner, their parents are in Bikaner, family is in Bikaner, extended family is there, they would probably shift to that location. Shifting a particular location just because you are fired and you're looking for a new destination, there are a couple of options that I have seen people talk about. I have not really known many people who have actually done this. Dehradun comes up as an option fairly often. Vishakhapatnam comes up as an option fairly often. Chandigarh comes up as an option fairly often. But I personally don't really know someone who has done that until and unless they have some sort of a base there. So I think it's more of an individual call, either where you have been, pick that, or where you have some connection. Going to a completely new city, I think it would be a bit difficult.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree. All right, the third question I have is so a lot of people use ChatGPT for almost everything nowadays. Do you think ChatGPT can replace traditional financial advisors?
Absolutely. 120%, I'm sure. And it is going to happen. It is going to happen in 2 months. It is going to happen in 2 years. It is going to happen in 12 years. That part I do not know when it is going to happen. Because the way financial advisory is structured in India is deeply problematic. Large amount of financial advisory comes from middlemen. Now, these middlemen could be your mutual fund distributors. These middlemen could be your LIC agents. These middlemen could be your bank relationship managers and a variety of others. And all of them, what happens is they get a commission for the products they sell. And there is a misalignment of incentives. Their incentive is to get commissions, and your incentive is to make more and more returns. So they don't always go hand in hand. SEBI has come up with the other framework, which is the RIA framework, which is the Registered Investment Advisory by SEBI. There also a lot of RIAs, they will also charge you a 1% fee or some sort of percentage fee, which is once again, you're paying a lot of money. There are some fixed fee RIAs who are available for the price point of anywhere from 2,000 or 20,000 to 1.5 lakh rupees. A lot of people don't want to spend that money. I believe it's good money to be spent. But ultimately, the service that all of these guys are providing, that service, I believe, can be provided by an AI very, very effective. See, what you need for financial planning broadly is having your goals in place, having some sort of asset allocation in place, picking, broad-based market funds, which invest in I would say, in a more systematic fashion. All of that can be done by AI very, very easily. Personally, I am working on the Handa Uncle app, which tries to do this. We have the account aggregate linkages with the account aggregators. So we are able to pull all your data, all your portfolio. Then we feed that and your query to the AI. So the quality of response is also a lot better. And it's technology. It's evolving. It'll only get better with time. Humans have a limitation, So even if there is a real estate broker who really likes you, you go to him, he'll only sell you real estate. A mutual fund distributor will only sell you a mutual fund. But an AI financial advisory will look at your needs and it'll sell you what you need, not because it is getting a commission out of something.
So the next question that I have is, once I have retired, how do I manage my portfolio? Because currently I have made some mistakes in my portfolio and I believe I can afford them because I still have some time. But after retirement, it becomes very critical that you manage your portfolio well. My biggest fear is that, so if I have invested in a fund and it's giving me good return, and people say that you need to, rebalance your portfolio every year. If a fund is giving me good return, do I still need to rebalance it, look for better opportunity, or can I stay invested in that?
It depends upon, what is the sort of risk you are comfortable with. Now, ideally speaking, as per what the research says, that over a long period of time, so let's say if you are investing for retirement for 30, 40, 50 years and that sort of a period, What mathematically works the best based upon research is that you should be 100% equity holder. In that 100% equity, 33% should be domestic equity. So let's say if you are in Canada, 33% Canada, 66% is rest of the world. If you are in India, 33% is in India and 66% is the rest of the world. That sort of a portfolio works best mathematically. However, what works best for most people is having some sort of safe assets where they know that, okay, this much money I have in the bank account, whatever happens, at least my expenses for some period of time will be taken care of by this money. And that is why a couple of strategies are recommended. One idea is that you go in for some sort of a fixed asset allocation, say 50% risky, 50% safe, or let's say 50% equity and 50% equity. Fair enough. And this is 50-50 is just as an example. It could be 60-40, it could be 70-30, it could be 80-20, depending upon what you feel most comfortable with. The other idea is what I personally follow, which is the idea of a bucket strategy, which is that I keep my next 2 to 4 years of expenses in extremely low risk and highly liquid assets. Liquid funds are an example. Savings account is an example of that. Now, arbitrage funds is something else also I use for this part. Here, the volatility in value is not that high. Here, I can take the money out within 1 day, within 2 days, or within a few minutes if I want, depending upon the instrument. And that gives me immense amount of peace. If I know that the next 2 to 4 years are sorted, I have reasonable amount of confidence, whatever has happened, things will look better in the next 2 to 4 years, and I'll be able to handle that 50% shock a lot more better. What becomes a problem is if there is a decade of no returns, which is a very, very long period. So the one part is the sharp fall part, which is why 100% equity doesn't work for me. The other part is the long part where in 10 years you got no returns, in 15 years you got no returns. For that sort of a period, that is why I have. So A is the short term bucket, B is a medium term bucket that I have, which again has 4 to 6 years of expenses. That is typically in hybrid funds. REITs are a good option for that. And there are other instruments also you can use for that. The idea there is that this medium term bucket, the goal is that it should be able to match inflation, not beat it. At least my 4 to 6 years of expenses are protected, whether it is today or let's say this bad decade comes in 2040s, 20 years down the line. Till that period of time, this bucket should grow in such a fashion that it is matching inflation. So whatever my 4-year expenses today are, my 4-year expenses, hopefully adjusted to inflation, would remain the same, and this would do that job. Everything else goes in the long term or the growth bucket. In the growth bucket, I have obviously equity forms a bulk of it, but equity can be there, gold can be there, real estate can be there. In equity also, there should be Indian equity, which is there, and there should be international equity, which is there as well. Have all those growth engines. Now, it is possible at some point of time, gold will do well. It is possible that at some point of time, Indian equity will do well. It is real estate is also there as a diversifier. It is highly unlikely that for a decade, all these things will do badly. That is a highly unlikely scenario. And so I will be able to survive. So diversification, A, in various asset classes, and also based upon your time and requirements. That takes care of the thing. Looking at one fund or 5 funds and looking at their returns that they're doing well, that's why I'll continue with them or I will not continue with them. That is not how you should base your decision. Returns are not really in your control. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. You can't do much about that. And basing your decision purely on returns might work sometimes, but I don't really think that any sort of switching constantly from fund A to fund B or from stock A to stock B over a period of 40, 30, 20 years.
So my next question is about bucket two. I'm building bucket two where I'm leveraging corporate bonds. And there are a lot of apps which offer corporate bonds. And most of these apps have lenders on their platform. They have rating of A minus or double A, and they give 9 to 10% annual return. Is that something one should utilize for second bucket, for bucket two?
I'm personally not a big fan of that because of a couple of reasons. Here, most of these bonds that you talk about, they will typically be for a very small period. There will be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, 6 months sort of bonds which are there, which are offering these sort of rates. So A, it is possible that once it works, twice it works. What will you do after 2 years? It matures, you will look for a different bond. What will you do after another 2 years? You'll look for a different bond. And some of them work. Let's say at some point of time, if one of them fails when you are at a much later date, then you will be in a huge problem. Because if this instrument, the corporate bond as an instrument that fails, it is not that you get a 5% instead of 12, 15%, you'll get 12% or 11%. Your entire thing gets wiped out. Your principal gets wiped out. And that's way too much of a risk. Now, should you invest in corporate bonds because they are offering a higher interest rate? Yes. As a concept, I fully agree with you. But you don't do that yourself. You go to a mutual fund. A mutual fund offers a corporate bond fund, which typically will do better than a liquid fund, which typically will do better than an ultra short term fund, because they will also be getting higher quality. See, whatever bonds are being offered to you, those bonds are also being offered to the mutual fund manager. You are not a good decision maker about what is a good bond, what is a bad bond, how should I invest, when should I withdraw, how do I even resell that bond if I want liquidity at one point of time. Taking the corporate bond fund route takes care of all of these problems. And that is the reason why you will see that the corporate bond funds, they will give you much, much lesser return than these corporate bonds because they're taking a lot of risk off the table. I don't think that you or me or more any retail investor should be going in for these from a very, very long-term early retirement perspective. If there is some sort of a goal that you have maybe 1 year, 2 years down the line, and you believe that, okay, fine, here this fund is going to play out, it's not really going to make a radical difference to your life, sure, give it a shot. Why leave 2-3% on the table? But I would personally not take that sort of a risk for that extra 2%, 3%. Whatever risk capital that I have, see, it's not as if I don't have risk capital. Whatever risk capital that I have, I will put that in the growth bucket, or I will give it to a mutual fund manager and let him take the headache of what risk to take and give me appropriate rewards. I'm not in favor of going to a platform and me myself deciding that, okay, this is the bond that I'm going to buy, because chances of me or you making an error on that is fairly high.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Ravi. That's all I had for you.
Puneet, तुम्हारे तो बहुत questions हो गए अब तो. Okay, just can you give me a little bit of context about your fire journey, how it is going and what you are doing in that?
Absolutely. So it's been 4 years that I'm pursuing fire, and I have reached at a pretty good corpus. I'd say I've reached around 50% of the corpus that I want to accumulate. So when I say 4 years, for the past 4 years, I've been very aggressive, but overall, I've been a good saver all my life. So yeah, that's the journey, how it's going so far. And I plan to retire in another 4 years, 4 to 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. And so you don't look that old. What would your age be at that point? How old are you?
I'm 36. Yeah. Planning to retire by 40.
A little under 40. Have you thought of what you are going to do beyond that?
I mean, there are a couple of ideas in my head, but I also believe that once you have a lot of time in your hand, you can explore, you can see what works for you. So in order to do that, you need to be free. So I haven't reached any conclusion yet, but yeah, there are a couple of things in my mind. Like I love fitness, so maybe, and it's really catching up. People are spending a lot of time and money to get in better shape. So maybe I'll do something around that.
I hope that works out. Is there anything particularly, you said that you have been a good saver, any sort of saving tips that you would like to give to our listeners that, okay, that is something that has helped you as an individual to save more than usual?
Absolutely. The best thing, I mean, if you want to be a good saver, you have to look at what you want and what you need, and don't buy things just to impress people. That's my mantra. If there's something I need, even if it's expensive, I'll go for it. Even if I have to cut down on my budget on something else, or let's say I have to stop my SIP or reduce my SIP, but I really want that and that's adding value to my life, I will go for it. But I will never buy anything just to impress people, or yeah, that's my mantra. That's how I've been a good saver.
Thank you, Puneet. Thank you for those insights. I hope our listeners would have been able to get something nice from this conversation. If you also want to appear on the show and answer my questions or ask me questions, I'll be more than happy to do that. You can let us know via the comments section, and someone, either me or someone from my team, will reach out to you. And I hope to see you also on one of the episodes. Thank you. Thank you, Puneet, for joining us.
Thank you, Ravi.